Welcome to this afternoon's coverage of NASCAR Cup Series practice at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for this weekend's 2024 running of the Brickyard 400. It's the 30th year anniversary since NASCAR first went to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in a race weekend. That inaugural Brickyard 400 back in the year. But here this weekend, we return to the Oval for the first time in 4 years for the NASCAR Cup Series. And obviously, the first time with the next gen car, which is going to make for an interesting practice session and overall an interesting weekend through on track activity and into the race on Sunday afternoon. If you're wondering visually where you want to be able to watch this practice session, if you can't find it on cable or your local NBC affiliate, that is because it is only on the NBC Sports app. So if you don't have the NBC Sports app downloaded onto your mobile device, you could do so. Obviously, I'd recommend you stay here right on the stream, but maybe if you wanted to sync my commentary up with what's going on there, you can do that as well. But I do have it on at the moment. I might have to log out, log back in, because I'm not getting anything quite yet. I was just watching Xfinity Series practice, which was also only on the NBC Sports app, and it was working perfectly fine for me. So hopefully it'll be working perfectly fine here. But appreciate everybody tuning in. Early Friday afternoon. This is the earliest Friday stream we've had this season. We did have a couple Friday practice sessions this year with other 50-minute practice sessions for various races. Some of the newer racetracks on the schedule or repaved racetracks like Sonoma a few weeks back. So back with another 50-minute practice session here today. I think this will be a fun start to the weekend. Again, we get to see these next-gen cars on an oval at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the first time. The first 2 years of the next gen, obviously, we were on the road course, and then the first road course race here in 2021 was the last year of the Gen 6 era. So got to go back to 2020, first time that we had, the last time I should say, we had oval Cup Series racing at the Brickyard. Again, practice is on the NBC Sports app. I don't have a raw feed available at this moment. I would assume practice is supposed to be starting right now. Yep, here we go. And they are live. At least there's a camera on. They're a couple minutes off. Stephen Harvey on the go with CeeLo. Thanks for tuning in. USA Network website. Oh, okay. I had no clue it was on USANetwork.com. I would have never expected that to even be a liable option. I'm going to unpin that message I had earlier. Appreciate that, CeeLo. I'll leave that muted until we get on-track activity started here. 50-minute practice session today. Xfinity Series just wrapped their practice session up, so this track's got a little bit of rubber down on this one-groove track. And actually, Truck Series practice is currently going on at the Indianapolis Raceway Park as we speak as well. So practice at the same exact time here for the Cup and the Truck Series. And you can watch the Truck Series practice session on Fox Sports 1, so that is televised on cable. But this practice session is not for the Cup Series. The race tomorrow for the Xfinity Series will be on the USA Network and then NBC, big NBC for Sunday's Cup Series race. Wade Solinsky, thanks for tuning in also. No, I don't work on Fridays. I get my 40 hours in Monday through Thursday. If I have overtime available, I'll pick up on Fridays, but they haven't even had any overtime since the 4th. And even if I did, I would have only picked up till noon today to make sure we can get this stream in at 2:30. Our first of 2 live commentary streams this weekend. We will have live coverage later on for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race again. They're at the Indianapolis Raceway Park today. Short track, little over half mile in length, further and closer to downtown Indianapolis. But as far as today's race, we're on the big oval. Or today's action, we're on the big oval with this stream. Kyle Larson looks like he's the first car lined up at the end of pit road, so he'll be the first to actually make a lap in this practice session. Racetrack. Compared to most other drivers in the field, outside of the few that were here for a test session about a month ago at Indianapolis, Goodyear ran a tire test. There were several drivers there, a couple for each manufacturer, but Larson, of course, running the Indianapolis 500 in the whole month of May with all the practice laps. Obviously, a much different race car, open wheel versus a stock car, but he has some laps at least. So the clock is ticking, and practice has begun. Cars are getting up to speed. Behind Larson, he's got his teammate Chase Elliott on the track currently, so a couple of cars for Hendrick Motorsports looking to take the track early. Martin Truex Jr., one of the first off of pit road as well. And I would assume with this full 50-minute practice session, you're probably going to see the most cars on track at once right out of the get-go here. I don't have a leaderboard available as of right now, and I almost wonder with truck practice going on at the same time, if that's maybe causing an issue. Sorry, not truck practice. ARCA practice is going on right now at IRP. Truck practice is in an hour. So I apologize for that. I remember seeing that there was supposed to be some sort of practice going on at IRP at the same time, but it was ARCA practice. So ARCA practice is going on right now. The race is set to begin at 5:30 Eastern Time later today. So ARCA truck at IRP this weekend. Xfinity Cup Series at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
It was really fun to see the love that the Indy 500 fans gave to Kyle Larson. They were excited for him to be here. Every time he would walk out on pit road, the fans would cheer. In the garage area, they would cheer. It was just fun. They supported him. They loved him being here. He did a great job. Wasn't the ultimate result that he wanted, but he did a great job, and he added to the Indy 500.
Well, we saw Xfinity practice earlier, and they have a reduced power setup this weekend. No reduction in power here in the Cup cars. Look at this top speed. We're going to see Kyle Larson, a little bit of toe in front. We're 190, dang near 200 miles an hour. 197 we saw entering the turn. Seeing fourth car in line, kind of right behind 42 of John Hunter Nemechek. Mid corner speeds of 165 miles per hour. Remember, first time on the oval for the next-gen car in the Cup Series. 30 years since the inaugural Brickyard, but a very different feel and look is, man, that is close. That's a bad arrow spot for the 5.
Wow. Nemechek just was not going to give that spot up.
A big, heavy stock car, way different than the last time Kyle Larson was on this track. I can't wait to see how these race. I mean, you saw right there in the 5, a loss of the nose of the car in traffic without a doubt. Then he was able to kind of pull back up to the rear bumper of the 42. We'll see if he can time this run. This is at turn 4. In line, trying to catch up to John Hunter Nemechek. By the time he gets to turn 1, it's still about 3 car lengths that separate the 2 cars.
This is what these guys need to learn, though. It's one thing to ride around here by yourself. Your car could drive great, but you're not going to get to race like that. This is how you're going to have to race. You're going to have to understand what your car can and can't.
Would be, as far as a lap time, we saw the Xfinity Series run right around 54 seconds, almost 4 seconds faster for the Cup Series, with Denny Hamlin running about a 50-second flat in the fastest for a lap here.
The proximity of cars nose to tail, closer than in recent years at the Brickyard. I think that's going to be the point, Jeff. You just said it. I don't think we're going to see this crazy 2 wide through the corners, but I do believe you're going to be able to stay closer like we just saw Larson.
Wow.
Stay close enough to the 99.
to complete this pass going into turn one.
And the interesting thing, the last time we raced here, Steve, you could position your car to affect the, kind of make them loose. This car, it's hard to do that. So how are they going to make these passes? Can they use a little bit more of that outside groove? I'm not saying the entire outside groove, but a little bit of outside groove to get a little bit of downforce in your car. I think this car is going to race differently for sure.
Hart Truex Jr. here in the 19, second fast. It's all the way back in 2015 when Martin got his best finish here on the oval at Indy, where he was fourth.
Well, and look at the leaderboard.
Gibbs, Hendrick, JTG with Stenhouse, then the two other Hendrick cars. 10 wins here in the Brickyard for Hendrick Motorsports. I know Joe Gibbs Racing and those Toyotas, they want to kind of chip away at that number. They want to come here, add to the total of their own. Martin.
Hey, Rich, that was number the crew chief's in pretty frisky. Mark, who's the crew chief for Denny Ham on the fastest car right now. He brought up a really good point, Steve, before the session, saying, hey, we have 3 sets of tires to work with in this session in 50 minutes. You don't normally obviously have that anymore in the Cup Series, Steve. So how would you divide up this practice session with 3 sets of your tires to work with? Would you do a mock run? Would you not do that, Steve? How would you plan this session out?
In a perfect world, I would like to get at least a 10-lap run to start, maybe make one change, make a short run, then come in, put my second lap set on, try to run like 15 laps. And if everything's good, I would really leave it up to my driver. I believe we understand what we need to do for qualifying. We do that every week, so these are the adjustments we're going to make. So it's more of a question for you, Jeff, like, hey, do you think you need a qualifying run to get a feel? If the driver doesn't need it, I would run all 3 sets in race trim. Qualifying's important, but remember, these drivers have become very accustomed to it just going into, qualifying cold turkey. They have to come back tomorrow and do it on their own. So I'm not sure if ending practice would help and sleep on it, or if you just want to come in tomorrow fresh, try it again. Interesting perspective here as we ride along with Austin Dillon. Right on the splitter, right at racetrack level as they go upwards of 200 miles an hour. It'll be a great look just how low the car in front of you can get. It's going to peek out. See that left rear tire almost have a little fold in the sidewall. You run some pretty low left side air. Jeff, it seems like these cars are maybe a foot higher than the Xfinity cars. Like they're not so concerned to get all the way to that concrete.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think when like I talked about before, with an Xfinity car, you really want to block the inside of the racetrack. You don't want to give that car behind you any opportunity to get below you and get clean air. But in this car, can you make good lap time by not being completely on the bottom? And if you can, then you're not going to pinch the car off so much. But I don't know. I think if we have tire fall off and the cars start to lose speed, I think it is going to be a lane-sensitive racetrack. It always has been, and I just don't know why that would change.
Steve, you mentioned this is the first time for this car on the oval here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The car obviously different, but also the tires, a bigger tire patch for these cars as well. Is that why we're seeing the speeds that we're seeing around here?
Well, it's just that, first of all, they have full power. The Xfinity Series car has much less power this weekend. This car has a lot of raw speed to it. I mean, look at it. We're going to see well into the 190s, 5th gear down the long straightaways. See if we see 200, just 198. Downshift to 4th. I would imagine he stays in 4th through the entire short shoot. But to your point, he never got all the way to the bottom of the racetrack. I think he will here. Yep. Definitely there.
And that's more grip there. Well, I hear from these drivers, Jeff, that the recovery of a mistake is quicker with 4 tire patch and the downshift. In hand out the window right here. So obviously there's someone behind him he was signaling to, whether that means he's coming to pit road. If he's coming to pit road, I'd love to stay on board and see how he does it. You see him on the bottom right. Let's see if he comes to pit road. Yep, shallow exit. This will be a pit road run. Racing spot.
It's not an easy pit road to get to, Steve. You can see how much speed he carried on the exit of turn 4.
Man, that yellow line came up early, too. It's way before pit wall.
It is a difficult entry because you're accelerating off of 4, and you're trying to get a visual on what is my lift point. And there's been a lot of mistakes made trying to get to that line without carrying too much speed, because there's such an advantage in carrying speed to it. But if you carry too much speed, then you got to call it speeding, and we've seen that a lot at this racetrack.
Pit road speed 10 miles an hour slow. That's 45 miles per hour, too. That's only going to make it more difficult. Right now, you have to slow the car down even more. Great look right here from the right rear spoiler of Tyler Reddick. It's the Xfinity Mobile spoiler cam. You better be close to the wall. I think not better, but you'll be close to the wall of the straightaway, not in the corner. This is not a track where there's any sort of higher lane. Higher is by a few feet.
Restarts, with a little lower pace, you can kind of hang up there on the outside.
I'm sorry, Rick. I was going to say a 10-lap run for Hamlin, 10-lap run for Truex, 11 for Elliott. Those 3 are at the top so far. A lot of guys. 10 laps seem to be a comfortable amount of laps, 10 or 11. Down to that 45-mile-an-hour speed limit for driver of the 45. "38 cars have been out on track already. Look at the regular season point standings. Tyler Reddick has just jumped up here into that 3rd spot as we see maybe a late commitment. Yeah, Noah turns in really late. That's an interesting, I'm not sure what happened there. It was left tire track, so
Maybe he was trying to get to pit road, and Zane Smith was down there, and he's like, rather than forcing this issue and potentially making some contact, I've overshot this a little bit. Let's just bail out, not make a mistake. That's really what you would want to do, right? If you do overshoot it, Marty, you just kind of have to understand you overshot it and then make another lap until back in pit road.
And that's what Noah Gragson did. Did you see him tool to his garage stall here, which is right on the front stretch and right behind pit road here at Indianapolis. Steve, we've talked about this pit road speed kind of staying with what the road course speed was, and that is much slower than it was when they were on the oval last in 2020. And talking to a lot of crew chiefs this morning, they're saying, Steve, it's going to change the strategy drastically. You could use to flip the stage like you do road course style here at Indianapolis, much like we saw at Pocono last week when Ryan Blaney used that to be able to get track position to win the race. But I'm hearing not many drivers, not many teams are going to be able to take advantage of that Sunday. Maybe just the leader, maybe second place, and that's it, because pit road speed is slowed down so much that if you're more than 4 or 5 seconds behind the leader, you're not going to be able to flip the stage like you used to here at Indianapolis.
Marty, I had the same number, about 5 seconds back. So if you are more than 5 seconds behind the leader, you come to pit road for a relatively standard pit stop, you're going to lose a lap. So it takes away any opportunity you have to do something different. Just one more unknown right when we come here. Rick, you talk about the speed difference between Xfinity and Cup cars. A lot has to do with the power. But the other thing that Indianapolis has always been known for is kind of your little platform, like how you set the car up. And look at the difference. On the left is a Cup car. Look at the gap under the front splitter. Actually trying to draw air on purpose underneath this car. It's a full floor plan car. On the right, we have the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Like, look how sealed the front splitter is on that car. Both make downforce in different ways. On the right, air underneath the car gets sped up over the diffuser, and it sucks the car to the ground, right? It's not being pushed to the ground. It's like a flipped over wing. It actually pulls the car to the ground. On the right, you just don't want the air under the car at all. You want to evacuate as much air as possible from underneath the car. That helps the higher pressure on top of the car be more efficient. Super obvious on these long, smooth straightaways, the kind of height difference between the two series. All right, are you guys into numbers? If you start talking about 10-year gaps, Rick. Yep, Jeff Gordon in the 24 won in 1994. Jeff Gordon
in the 24 won in 2004. And in 2014, Jeff Gordon in the 24 won here at Indy. So is it given that William Byron is going to win in 2020?
No, because he's not Jeff Gordon.
You know what numbers will tell you, Rick?
Right.
They're numbers. Yeah, 1 out of the 3 pigs will build a house out of brick. That's what I learned about stats.
2 + 2 = 4.
Something like that. It is an interesting omen. Look, I think Byron could do it.
Sure.
I think this guy could do it. Now Chase Elliott kind of has that win now behind him.
Rick Hendrick is the honorary pace car driver. So is it Hendrick year potentially being back here on the oval?
I picked on Alan Gustafson today. We saw him when we started talking about experience. I think I had like a little over 300, 320 or 30 starts as a crew chief. Alan's on start 697. So he's closing in on 700 races on top of the pit box. Morning.
Checked in with Alan this morning as well, Steve, and he made an interesting point about not wanting to get into this practice too quickly. And he said, one thing I know about Indianapolis is that this track is going to change quite a bit throughout this session. So how much are you trying to not fool yourself, make big adjustments early in this session, Steve, as Chase Elliott comes in after his second run of the day and go, hey, I know the track's going to be way different even at the end of this session, much less tomorrow when we go to qualify.
For sure it's going to change, but there's a fine line, right, Jeff? Like, is it going to shift the direction you think it's going to shift? Is it just going to be total grip? Is it going to be a balance change? I talked to Goodyear a little bit before we came up. Mark Hito, the Goodyear engineer, he expects this much wider tire that you pointed out, Rick, on this next gen car. That it really smeared a lot of rubber on the racetrack at the test, and they're looking forward to that because that will help tire wear, but that will also change the balance of the car dramatically.
All right, so I don't know if this is going to be an ad-free practice session or not. We're almost 20 minutes in as of right now, so about 30 minutes remain in this full 50-minute practice session. We've seen most of these drivers out on the track so far take anywhere between 8 to 12 laps, at least for the full-time Cup regulars. We do have a couple of non-chartered entries this weekend, of course, as well. Jimmy Johnson and the 84 cars back for Legacy Motor Club. I believe this is going to be, and I'll actually check just to make sure. Thought I had the standings up. I think I closed the point standings out by accident. So for Jimmy Johnson, this is Jimmy's 6th start of the season. I was thinking that, but I just wanted to make sure. 6th start of the year, it's his 5th on an oval. He did run at COTA early in the season as well. So we'll go through the full practice leaderboard right now. Denny Hamlin is top of the speed charts with a 50.078. That averages for 179.72 mile per hour average. It was on his 3rd lap of 10 he's ran so far in this practice session. Hamlin was one of the few drivers that were here for the tire test about a month ago, so could have those extra laps be an advantage for him here this weekend. His teammate Martin Truex Jr. is currently 2nd overall. Chase Elliott is 3rd in the fastest Chevy. William Byron 4th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is in 5th. Kyle Larson 6th. Alex Bowman 7th. Ryan Blaney the only Ford in the top 10 and 8th. Tyler Reddick is 9th and Ty Gibbs is 10th. AJ Allmendinger in 11th. He was just top 10 in Xfinity practice as well. Chris Buescher 12th. Carson Hocevar 13th. Christopher Bell 14th. And Harrison Burton is 15th. Brad Keselowski 16th. 17th place is Austin Cindric. Michael McDowell 18th. Noah Gragson 19th. And Kyle Busch is 20th. 21st for Joey Logano, Eric Jones 22nd, Daniel Suarez 23rd, Jonathan Nemechek 24th, Ty Dillon 25th, 26th for Bubba Wallace, Josh Berry 27th, Corey LaJoie 28th, 29th is Ty Gillen, and 30th is Ross Chastain. Austin Dillon 31st, Zane Smith 32nd, Ryan Preece 33rd, Jimmy Johnson 34th, 35th for Chase Briscoe, Daniel Hemrick 36th, Cody Ware 37th, and Justin Haley 38th. Ty Dillon, by the way, is the other non-chartered entry. I only said it was Jimmy Johnson. Johnson and Ty Dillon are the 2 non-chartered entries this weekend. Dillon in the 33. That is a 3rd Richard Childress Racing entry for this weekend. We've seen Austin Hill run a couple races in that car in the Cup Series as well this year.
20, and he's just, man, it's close. He hadn't even challenged for a win.
And there was like a little bit of glimmer early, and then stuff took him out of it.
Yeah.
But lately, not even really winning speed or contending speed.
Yeah, and Richard Childress Racing has been making some changes. Richard himself came out and said, we've got to do better engineering-wise. We've got to give these guys better cars. So they're trying to make changes to find a little more speed, give them a more competitive race car.
We talked about pit road, how difficult it is. Ross Chastain working on pit road entrance speed, trying to get it slowed down, locks the front tires up. Now that's an issue there because if you lock them up too much, now you have to change them. And if you're trying just to do a fuel-only stop or something like that, that can blow that strategy apart. So Chastain learning what the limits are.
And as far as this practice session goes, each of these teams get 2 sets of tires. And I think you're seeing some of these teams about halfway through this practice session changing tires because we have a couple of newcomers at the top of the board. Kyle Larson first, Chris Buescher jumps to second. Buescher by far way quicker on this side of tires than what he had the first set of tires. He was outside the top 15. Now he's second. Larson's lap that he laid down was a 49.8 flat. And that is the only lap time we've seen less than 50 seconds so far in practice. And it was lap 12 for Larson. But again, more than likely his first or second lap on this new set of tires. Denny Hamlin remains third. Martin Truex Jr. fourth. Chase Elliott is now fifth.
It's Christopher Bell. Starts up and then relatively zero fall off. A very flat line graph where Denny's kind of starts to trend and now falls off to a point and then gets flat. But there's a good 3 or 4 tenths of a second gap out here on the long run. This is only 10 laps. We expect the fuel run to be out there even further, close to probably even 40 laps. So it'll be interesting to see if that would continue on or if they're going to make adjustments. But right now, if I could pick, I'll take green line. I'll take Christopher Bell's line because I think he could find that pace early.
As mentioned, Tyler Reddick now, he just went out and he went P1 on the board at a 49.78. The guys going out the second time are able to get more pace.
Marty, how about Brad Keselowski in the 16?
Brad out on the racetrack right now, and one of the cool things about Indianapolis, they use the old F1 garage for the series garage now, and that's where the teams work out of. So when he pulls into the garage, he comes to Matt McCall, and they've got a nice table to work from. That's where kind of everything is set up versus the hauler like it normally is. Everything's set up here in the garage. So Brad literally pulls up to the engineering table where McCall and the engineers are sitting right now. So Steve, did you like this setup? I talked to a number of crew chiefs like Alan Gufson this morning. He said, I love this setup because if I want my driver to get out of the car, we can basically sit down right here, show him what we need to show him. He's got a 2-foot walk to the car and get back in and go back out if that's what we choose to do. But a very unique setup here in the former F1 garage, now the Cup garage in Indianapolis.
I do like the proximity, the space. You're not on top of the other cars. The one thing that I always struggled with is tracks where I couldn't see my car physically on the racetrack. It's just such a big facility. You're watching on TV, even if maybe your car's not being shown, you see it on the front stretch, or you're just watching the data. I liked Martinsville, Bristol, tracks where I could literally watch my car make laps. It helped my process of what my driver was talking about, but I love the ability for the driver to get out. I think, no offense, Jeff, but sometimes take the helmet off for a minute, talk face to face. I think we kind of dissect it better. Now, 15 minutes also helps. If it's 15 minutes, I don't care where you're practicing from, you're not getting out of the car.
You and I have spent enough hours in those garages testing here in the summer, 120 degrees. Brings back a little bit of got some problems remembering all those days. You lose weight at these tests. It was hard. It's great. Let's ride along. Let's talk about this racetrack, challenges of it. He's coming in.
Right on cue.
I appreciate that.
We'll ride along as he crosses the commitment line.
Kind of watching this run from Tyler Reddick, more speed right away and a little bit more fall off, which doesn't surprise me, right? If you abuse the tires, I think tires in general only have so much life. Now, your car handling well helps the life of the tire, but pay me now or pay me later.
Reddick and Larson seem to be on the same schedule.
Well, I like this 45 car. In about 4 laps, Steve, it's lost a second of pace. I mean, he went a 49.78. That last lap was a 50.70.
Marty.
Rick, just to clarify, Tyler Reddick did put on a brand new set of tires when he came in, so Billy Scott made that call. But Steve, it's been interesting because they ran about 10 laps. I think it was actually 12 for Reddick. Then he came in to pit road, put on that new set of tires. There are other teams who have made their second run on the same set of tires. So what's the thought process here in putting on a new set, Steve, versus going and sticking with the original set?
Well, with only 24 minutes left, if I don't plan on making a qualifying run, then I think I absolutely will go to a new set of tires that makes the longer runs. It depends on what you change. Like sometimes you just need to get a little bit of feel, or it might not even be a feel you're looking for. Maybe you're changing the dynamic height of the race car. You can do that on old tires. So it really comes down to your agenda. Jeff, you mentioned the fall off, and it's real, but it kind of happens lap 1, 2, or 3, and then it really levels off. So that tells me if I call the right strategy, I need a couple cars defending me, right? But after 3 laps, I'm not sure if if your new tires will help you as much. Now, if you line up right behind me on new tires, you might have a chance to overtake me.
If you're off, then we see the red flag out. Must be an issue on the track. We're just honing in on the 2. Might be a little bit of debris on the backstretch.
And this is frustrating for those teams that put on that second set of tires because the goal was to run kind of unabated, right? You wanted to run 10, 15 straight laps. Kurt Busch in the garage. Now you kind of get a heat cycle on the tires. This is definitely going to affect the balance.
Back in Nashville, had a career celebration for Kurt Busch. So we see the 45 of Tyler Reddick will be making his way back into the garage.
So caution for debris, about 22 minutes left to practice. Tyler Reddick is now the fastest on the leaderboard, 49.782, about 18 one-thousandths of a second quicker than Kyle Larson's fastest lap. Reddick's lap was at lap 14. He has ran 20. Most laps ran so far in this practice session was 22 laps ran by young gun Ty Gibbs. So Reddick with a Toyota out in front, Chevy second, Ford third, Larson second, Chris Buescher third, Denny Hamlin fourth, Martin Truex Jr. is fifth, Austin Cindric sixth, seventh for Chase Elliott, William Byron in eighth, ninth for Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Christopher Bell is 10th, Bubba Wallace 11th, Alex Bowman 12th, Ryan Blaney 13th, Brad Keselowski 14th, Zane Smith 15th, 16th for Ty Gibbs, AJ Allmendinger 17th, Carson Hocevar 18th, Joey Logano 19th, and Kyle Busch 20th. 21st for Harrison Burton, Jimmy Johnson 22nd, Michael McDowell 23rd, Josh Berry 24th, Noah Gragson 25th, Eric Jones 26th, 27th for Todd Gillen, Daniel Suarez 28th, Jonathan Nemechek 29th, and Ty Dillon 30th. Corey LaJoie 31st, Ross Chastain 32nd, Austin Dillon 33rd, Ryan Preece 34th, Chase Briscoe 35th, 36th for Daniel Hemrick, Cody Ware 37th, and Justin Haley 38th. So that is the full 38 car field right now in this practice session with, again, about 20 minutes to go. Seen some fast speeds here in Indy. Corner entry, from what I've seen at the fastest, I saw Reddick, who was out on the track right before this caution came out, hitting speeds of 195 miles per hour at both the entry before the braking and let out of the gas zone in turn 1 and turn 3. So very, very fast racetrack around this 2.5 mile oval. Be sure to hit the like button on the stream if you haven't done so yet. We're only at 24 likes right now. Our goal is to get to 50. So be sure to hit the like button so we can get to our goal of 50 likes for this stream. A little bit shorter with no qualifying in on this stream, but we will have live commentary for qualifying tomorrow afternoon. That will begin at 1 p.m. Eastern, and you can watch that on the USA Network. But as far as practice, it is on the NBC Sports app, USA Network, and their website. So going to need internet to watch this practice session visually. Same as for the Xfinity Series before this. Truck practice and qualifying at the Indianapolis Raceway Park will begin at the bottom of the hour after this practice concludes. We won't have coverage for that, but we will have coverage later tonight for the Truck Series race at IRP. And in that truck race, we will go live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. So about a 5-hour break period between streams today. Shoutouts to those of you that I see in the chat that I haven't really shouted out all stream. I greatly appreciate you watching on a very early Friday afternoon. MMR24, Mark Witkowski, Steve Yavorsky, thanks for tuning in. Wade Solinsky, Dark Crypto, Richard Carr Sr., Ronnie20 Forever. CeeLo, of course, thanks for tuning in. He's one that notified me of this being on USA Network's website as well, because I was unaware that that was the case. Mr. Fulton Raz, thanks for tuning in. Happy birthday to you as well. Chris Davis, Tim Brown, Tanner Buckley, Jojo, thanks for tuning in. The Polar Express, 1225 Productions, thanks for tuning in. So prefer a Kyle Busch win this weekend. He's won here before. Uncle Plain Guy, Matt Hunter, also thanks for tuning into the stream. The Gaming Life, Stephen Harvey, and much more. At 31 likes so far. Now we're 32. 18 away from our goal of 50 for this stream. We've got about 22 minutes left. NASCAR has given these teams a couple extra minutes of practice with this caution coming out right in the middle of it. So NASCAR will give about 3 minutes, it looked like, back on the clock to these teams. So that way when we get back to green flag conditions, they can still use the full 50 minutes. It's hard to believe Denny Hamlin's tied for 12th all-time on the NASCAR win list. He's got a good shot to get up into the top 10 all-time, though. He's only 6 behind Kevin Harvick. 3 wins this season for Denny Hamlin. He's had speed pretty much anywhere he's gone outside of road courses. And my prediction, at least for coming into this weekend, that I haven't really stated at all on this stream yet, I think a lot of the drivers that had raw speed last weekend at Pocono are going to have that here at Indianapolis today. Very similarly styled racetrack. I've seen that a lot with the next-gen car. When you run similar packages from one track to another, it does seem as if those tracks really translate from one driver having speed on one track to another. I really look at Gateway and New Hampshire being a couple weeks apart from each other on very similarly styled racetracks, and the speed that we saw from a lot of drivers in both those races. Christopher Bell went out there, had the quickest car at Gateway. I felt confident in Bell winning New Hampshire just based off that alone, plus obviously Bell's New Hampshire stats throughout his career there as well, and it translated well. He ended up going on to win the race, and before the rain came, Ryan Blaney was up in the top 5 for most of the day. Actually, even when the rain came, he was up in the top 3 on that late race restart. He also had a great day, obviously, at Gateway. So I think we're going to see a lot of that here today. Drivers who ran well on raw speed last weekend at Pocono. Of course, Ryan Blaney went on to win that race. Denny Hamlin was very quick, ended up finishing in second. He ran top 3 pretty much most of the day, won a stage as well. Kyle Larson had some speed at Pocono. He was pretty much top 5 the whole time. Unfortunately, had a speeding penalty late. I think the fastest Hendrick car on speed last weekend was Chase Elliott. Even after the speeding penalty, he came back to finish 8th. And that was only in about the final less than 30 laps of green flag racing with all the late race yellows we saw in that final fuel stint. He was still able to get up again with an 8th place finish. So I think Chase Elliott's going to be really quick this weekend. And those drivers I just named, the only one of them not in the top 10 right now in practice is Ryan Blaney, who's 13th. I don't know if he's put a second set of tires on yet. So it'll be interesting to see if he jumps up the leaderboard at all. Yep, he just put the second set of tires on because he just jumped to 6th. Right as I said that. So Blaney's now up to 6th quickest. So now all those drivers I just named are all up in the top 10. Tyler Reddick, who was my pick to win Pocono last weekend, had a lot of speed in practice and qualifying. He's top of the charts this weekend. So I really do think a lot of the drivers that ran very well last weekend just had good raw speed, was up in contention for the win for most of the day. You're going to see a lot of those same similar suspects on Sunday this weekend competing for this Brickyard 400 win. Denny Hamlin goes to the top. 49.570 for Hamlin, almost 0.2 quicker than Tyler Reddick's fast lap. I think Hamlin's probably the favorite coming in, having those extra laps with the tire test that we saw here a month ago, or had heard about a month ago. We didn't really have, televised event of that, but few drivers from each manufacturer were able to make a tire test run here at Indy. Denny Hamlin, one of those drivers for Toyota. And he was fastest in the first portion of practice on the first set of tires, and he jumps the quickest again now on his first laps with the second set of tires. Let's see what his top end speed's going to be into turn 1 this time. 195, 6, 7, 8, 9. 199 miles an hour into turn 1 for Denny Hamlin. I haven't seen that yet. Reddick was hitting about 195 on corner entry. Hamlin 199. So he's just getting up off the exit of turn 4, turn 2 a lot better than Reddick. We'll see what that top end speed's going to be. Oh, never mind. they panned over to Chris Buescher, middle of the back straightaway. I wanted to see what kind of speed he was going to hit into turn 3, if it was going to be the same or not. Yeah, 199 miles an hour corner entry for Denny Hamlin into turn 1. But again, Reddick, who's second quickest, I saw him hitting 195, which means he can carry a little bit more speed through the corner because he's not going in quite as quick. It didn't really seem like Hamlin had anybody remotely in front of him to get a draft or a pole off of down that front straightaway either. Definitely seemed to have the balance in the raw speed overall right on that 11 Toyota for this weekend. Carson Hocevar up to 7th quickest in practice now. So you're definitely starting to see the leaderboard shuffle quite a bit more. A lot of these teams in these final 20 minutes of practice putting that second and final set of tires on. And it's the second time, obviously, back out on the racetrack. Kyle Busch is up to 12th. He was 20th, so a little bit more speed out of the 8 for any Kyle Busch fans out there. Ross Chastain was at the very bottom of the leaderboard. He was like 32nd, 33rd. At least is up to 21st, so he's taking a step in the right direction. The Fords definitely seem to be off this weekend, though. Which, although they have been good on flatter racetracks with this next-gen car, it seems like they struggle more on top end speed, so these two very long straightaways here may be hurting them a little bit. Now, granted, with that being said, they still ended up running good at Pocono last week, which was a surprise, because through practice and qualifying, they had good long run speed, but the short run speed was not there. And that's why only 2 Fords qualified in the top 10 last weekend. But in the race, when we had longer green flag runs, that's where Logano and Blaney were able to slowly get through the field. A little bit of strategy obviously playing into that, but both those drivers were able to get top 5 finishes. Yeah, Hocevar up into the top 10. Currently 8th. Nemechek was in the top 10, but he's kind of fallen back as we have a couple other drivers now bumping their way in. Brad Keselowski, 2018 Brickyard 400 winner, up to 6th. Couple spots behind his teammate Chris Buescher. So Penske, who has been on a roll as of late, if you count Logano's All-Star win, they've won 5 of the last 9 races. The 2 with 1, then the 22 and the 12 with 2 apiece. Again, if you include the All-Star race with Joey. Tyler Reddick back to the top of the charts again, 49.293. We might see a 48 in qualifying tomorrow. I could see it. Yet I think a lot of these drivers didn't even get a chance to race on the original oval at Indy because they weren't a rookie until 21 or later when we were only running on the road course. Reddick was a rookie that season. But so that even makes it more impressive, really, for a guy like Carson Hocevar to be in the top 10 right now. He's never taken a lap here in Indianapolis until today. and he's 9th. And Josh Berry's never made any laps here. He's mid-pack, currently 18th. Ty Gibbs, 28th, well behind the rest of the Toyotas. So he's definitely lacking. And he's ran a bunch of laps, too. He's ran the most laps, but is still 28. So never racing here before. Seems to be hurting Gibbs compared to the other Toyotas who are all in the top half of the speed charts, except for a couple of the Legacy Motor Club cars like Eric Jones and Jimmy Johnson. But the 2311 Toyotas and the Joe Gibbs Racing Toyotas, they're all up at the top. Like Chastain locked the tires up coming to pit road again. Unless that was from earlier. Because he did it earlier too. Locking up both sets of tires he's got. Refuel the car. Push it further into the garage. Make some adjustments and we'll see if we'll see Chastain back out on the track. 13 minutes to go in practice.
Out. Track position. Because if I look at, for example, or Byron is 6th, running a long run, he's running 50s. Guys, 20th, 25th, 30th, they're running 60th. Like, it is going to be a super competitive race, and any mistake you make is going to be hard to overcome. There's so many people. There's a few standouts for sure. Reddick, Hamlin, Reddick for sure stands out, but it is so close throughout the field, and that to me is going to change this race a little bit from what we've seen in the past. What we've seen in the past is that they get spread out because the first place car is so much faster than the 25th place car. I'm not seeing that, and it's going to put a ton of pressure on drivers to have good restarts, crew chiefs to have good strategy. You can't have bad pit stops. All the little things are going to really matter. And if you take, I could give you 30 cars right now. If you put them in front of this pack, they could win the race. How do you get there? How do you get yourself there, and how do you keep it? We could see a surprise winner this weekend.
Strategy, yes.
Cindric trying to use that draft, and car in front of him will pull out of the way. So Cindric has a little cleaner track in front of him. We see Jimmy Johnson back behind the wheel of the 84. Johnson, a former winner here back in 2012. 4 times he has been to
You say former winner 4 times.
Second most all time behind Jeff Gordon, his teammate.
He's 21st fastest, and it's been a bit of a struggle for him the last several years, but reasonable pace today.
Look back on that last Brickyard 400 win for Jimmy Johnson. Think back to that. That was 12 years ago. Those kids are grown.
I tell you, I respect Jimmy Johnson so much for having raced against him. It's his ability to just find speed. And we talk about how do you win races. It can be done a lot of different ways. The way you run them, it's just, I'm just faster than you. You can't run with me. Some people are rough. Some people are aggressive. A lot of different styles to get it done. That guy was just faster than everybody else. And period. And he drove cleanly. He did not get himself in trouble. He stayed out of the middle of all the controversial moves. He didn't have to do those things. He just drove by it. And it was frustrating. I mean, it was so frustrating to watch him be able to do that. And I have a ton of respect for him, not only for what he did on the racetrack, but what he's done off the racetrack as well. He is a really good person and a great, that word gets overused a lot, he is a great race car driver.
And you remember the last time he was on the track here would have been in an Indy car, but he had a stint where he was driving in an Indy car series. And he ride along with Chase Briscoe. And
Want to reiterate too, when I was talking about the favorites for the race tomorrow that I see at the top of the speed charts, 4 of those drivers that were running up towards the front leading laps last weekend. Reddick didn't lead any laps, but he was my pick to win and was top 3 up until the final stage. Final stage, he fell behind. Still finished 6th. He had a good day. Reddick up front. Blaney won last week. Hamlin second. Larson was leading before the speed penalty in the final stage, fourth in practice right now. William Byron was top 5 for most of the day. He's 7th. Yeah, those top couple in particular. I'm waiting to see Chase Elliott get back out on the track again and see what he can do because he's currently 18th. He's ran 29 laps, but we still have about 8.5 minutes of practice, so we'll see if he'll get back out there. Kind of rough to see Chase Briscoe as far down the leaderboard as he is. They were just talking about him being on camera right now. Briscoe 37th of 38 cars on the track. BJ McLeod in the 66 is the only one that has not made a lap of practice yet. That 66 car is an NBM entry. So it's weird not seeing BJ in a Lift Fast car in the 78 this weekend. In the 66. But he is here, he just hasn't made a lap. In the full 50 minutes. He's got a few more laps in it to try to go out there and make a lap just to make sure everything's running properly. We'll see if he does that today, or if he's going to wait for tomorrow for qualifying to make his first lap on the track. Seven and a half minutes to go. Only caution was for debris on the back straightaway just after the halfway point in this session. And that was the same thing that happened in the Xfinity Series at almost the exact same time. Right in the midway point of practice, there was debris on the backstretch. And that was the only caution in their 50-minute session as well.
Really is. We've seen people lock up the tires coming on to pit road. Well, Alec Gustafson wanted Chase Elliott to get a speed here on pit road. You see him cross that last timing line. Look on the left. There's a crew member, Hulk. That's the hat. That's where Chase knew to go to a pit stall. They simulated a very quick pit stop there for Chase Elliott, trying to get a very accurate read on what exactly is the roll time down pit road with this new pit road speed. You can do it by math and by computer, Steve, right? But you want to do it in the real world to make sure, hey, we know exactly what that time was. We did it ourselves in practice.
Well, for the 9, pit road speed is going to be a little bit of a sensitive topic. Remember last week, was in position. I actually think had the best car at Pocono. He never got out front to show it, but he passed a ton of cars. And at the end, he was right there inside the top 8 or 9, and he got his first speeding ticket in 92 races. Yeah. And that really, and it was at the end of the race, cycled into the back. He was never able to recover. So bravo to go 92 races. Super impressive, but fresh on the mind from last week at Pocono.
The 92 and the 1?
Yeah.
The 1 is the part you remember.
That's right.
Backside of the garage there as they pull in from the track side. They go out the back and make a hard right-hand turn to go back out onto the track. Where we are now, Bubba Wallace, this Toyota onboard, giving us a look as the other interesting thing, obviously, about Indianapolis is you've got grandstands on either side on the front stretch. Well, it feels like through a tunnel.
Bubba Wallace inside the top 10 on pace. I really think, I know the math says that they can gain enough points, but I really think everybody below the line had to be thinking win when it comes to the playoffs.
The weekend last weekend, could have been a great weekend, but with Ross Chastain's issue, Bubba Wallace only 27 points back. I'm a little more positive than you, Steve. I think he can point himself in. I don't know that they need to feel that way. Maybe they do because you don't know what's going to happen, but they have pace. I think they're faster than Ross Chastain. The question is, can they execute? And if one of them can't find a way to win, it's going to be a very tight battle, and Buescher's not that far in front of him. A few bad races, and he could fall right back. So we've seen it over and over and over. 1 or 2 points can make a major difference.
Remember, it was Buescher and that team who said they needed to have a win before the Olympic break, which is coming up after this weekend. to feel comfortable to get into the playoffs. Otherwise, we're going to work. We're working through the next 2 weeks that we have off to make sure that we are able to stay in the top 16.
Well, I will give Chris Buescher this. He has, not that this is going to make him feel better, but he loses by the closest margins. I mean, the poor guy, every photo finish we've had this year, Chris Buescher's been right in it, right? I mean, think about that. We're a tenth of a second, and he could have about 3 wins this year. He has been so close so many times. Fortunately, the stat book doesn't care how close you are.
You see Caitlin Clark on the hood of the 4 of Josh Berry here.
Josh just ran his fastest lap of the day.
I don't think we're going to see a lot of qualifying runs, but if we were going to, this is not what you would see in the last 3 minutes. I just think these teams have such a good plan from race trim. You just slide over. These are the adjustments we make to go qualify.
Caitlin's got her Iowa jersey on, but Indiana Fever player.
Yeah, I was wondering why she didn't have the Indiana Fever jersey on, just because they're in Indianapolis.
Josh Berry ran his first
Found that kind of odd.
59 each. A second off on that second lap. He wasn't happy with that.
Byron chasing after Jimmy Johnson into the turn. Ross Chastain, as soon as this practice is over, he's actually going to hop on a helicopter and fly about 10 miles over to IRP for truck practice. He'll be doing double duty. Truck practice starting in 20 minutes after the conclusion of this cup practice. Maybe that's the chopper. I'm not sure. He's got 2 minutes of practice still here.
So this is what I was talking about earlier, is trying Ross Chastain, working to figure out what his car drives in this situation. Because I can guarantee you it's not good. He does not like his car behind someone else. What are those challenges? What does the car do? What does it not do?
Oh, and as time is starting to wind down, Ryan Blaney jumped second on the board. Last week's winner.
A little confidence added. Blaney getting win number 2 of this season.
But Jeff, this is what you talked about with the playoffs. This is Chastain's slide, right? From nearly 100 up to only 27 up at 16. So,
that feels different.
Yeah.
When you're 93 and then you're 27, that feels different than if you were just 27 the whole time. You're like, what's happening?
Blaney's won 2 of the last 5 races. So picking things up in his championship defense. And it got a little hectic here.
So cars coming out right now. I was trying to see if they have brand new tires on. What's going on? Danny's going to
So he's like, I'll just get out of the way.
I'm not sure what he's trying to do here. Go around the 8, and then he gets stuck. But there's got to be, 25 cars on the track. I mean, it's so crowded right now. I miss these chaotic finishes to practice. It's the one change. It's going to fix everything. My last change.
I miss this.
30 seconds.
This long practices thing, you're right. Like, I got to make this change, and then you get done. I got to make one more change. And, you never get it done. And I miss the intensity of this.
That'll do it for this session.
Oh,
wow.
It's not the end. That's a caution.
Eric Jones. The red flag came out for Jones.
Now that will end it, Rick, but there's a little time left.
The clock was winding down.
Oh, boy.
It just, round it came. I mean,
And what a save.
It was a great save. Right here, he's not, right when it started, I can about promise you, he thought he was going to hit something, and probably fortunate he did.
So a little extended practice by just a couple minutes when we had a little bit of a debris issue in the middle, but here are the top 10.
Yeah, so practice will conclude with the caution coming out, and there was less than 30 seconds left at the time. Again, a spin in turn 2 for Eric Jones. Tyler Reddick quickest in this practice session with a 49.293. That averages out to a lap average speed of 182.582 miles per hour. It was on his 22nd lap of 34 that he ran in practice overall. Ryan Blaney second quickest, Denny Hamlin third, Christopher Bell fourth, Alex Bowman fifth, Kyle Larson sixth, Brad Keselowski seventh, Chris Buescher eighth, William Byron ninth, Carson Hocevar still camped out there in 10th. Bubba Wallace at 11, Chase Elliott 12th, Josh Berry 13th, Austin Dillon 14th. Good pickup for RCR for Dillon to go from outside the top 30 to 14th. Austin Cindric 15th, and Kyle Busch, who was also outside the top 20 early in practice, at least got the 16th on the board. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was top 5 early but fell to 17th. Todd Gillen 18th. Jonathan Nemechek 19th, and Martin Truex Jr. was second fastest of the first cars that went out, 20th though overall in lap average speed. Or in his fast lap, I guess, compared to everybody else's fast lap. Jimmy Johnson 21st overall, Joey Logano 22nd, AJ Allmendinger 23rd, Harrison Burton 24th, Zane Smith 25th, Noah Gragson 26th, Michael McDowell 27th, Eric Jones, who just spun off turn 2, didn't hit anything luckily, timed in 28th fastest. Trackhouse cars are struggling right now. Daniel Suarez 29th, Ross Chastain 30th. Daniel Hemrick 31st, Corey LaJoie 32nd. 33rd for Ty Gibbs, who is also struggling here this weekend. A lot worse than the other Toyotas. Justin Haley 34th, Ryan Preece 35th, Cody Ware 36th, Chase Briscoe 37th, Ty Dillon 38th, and BJ McLeod did not make a lap in 39th through this practice session. So practice has concluded. On-air coverage on the NBC Sports app is now done of NASCAR Cup Series practice for tomorrow. I almost said tomorrow, for Sunday's Brickyard 400. Not used to Friday afternoon practices anymore. It felt nice though. Watching the Xfinity Series practice before this, it kind of gave me those flashbacks to when NASCAR would have multiple practices every weekend. They'd usually start things off on a Friday afternoon like this. So it was good to see this return with Xfinity and Cup action today. And we still got Truck Series practice and qualifying coming up here in a minute. But again, as that is starting on Fox Sports 1, we won't have a live commentary stream for that, but we will have live commentary for the Truck Series race later tonight. They're at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. We'll go live for that at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So again, 8:30 later tonight will be our start for Truck Series racing at IRP. We'll pick things back up tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for NASCAR Cup Series qualifying for the Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, followed by the NASCAR Xfinity Series race at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, about 24 hours from now. And our Cup Series coverage to end the weekend off strong on Sunday afternoon for the Brickyard 400 2024 edition. That will begin at 2 p.m. Eastern, again Sunday afternoon. So that is going to wrap up the practice session here. Appreciate everybody tuning in on this early Friday afternoon. I will see you later tonight for Cup Series practice. Be sure to hit the like button if you have not done so yet. 43 likes on the stream. We're still 7 shy of 50, which was the goal coming in. So be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. So hopefully we get to 50 after the stream comes to an end. I'll see you later tonight for the Truck Series race again, 8:30 Eastern Time. See you in 5 hours, everybody. Thanks for watching.